You're listening to Head Voice, bringing you inside the minds of singers and sound creators who are redefining what it means to make music with the voice. I'm Evan, and this week we are joined for a special Halloween episode by Earl, Ellie, and Jay Nunn from VoicePlay. We talked about everything from the band's inception to their humble beginnings, cast member changes, sing-off, everything in between, up until where they are right now, which is probably on their way to SoJam this weekend, which they will be headlining the show for, and we will be teaching some classes at, so we hope to see you there. There's a lot in this episode, so I hope you enjoy this special spooky edition with VoicePlay. Hello, we are here with three members of VoicePlay. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves real quick?
Sure, I'm Earl. I sing tenor 1.
I was gonna make a joke. I'm Ellie, and I'm singing tenor 2.
I'm Jay Nunn. I sing baritone.
Nice. Thank you guys for joining us. So yeah, we're really happy to talk to you guys. I think that's the most guests that we've had on at one time, but we're happy to have almost all of the band here. So you guys have been around for a while. So I was wondering if we could kind of start at the beginning, back at the 4 to 5 days back, like when everything was kicked off.
5 days.
Of just like how, like, what the genesis of the group was.
So the two that are not here, Lane and Jeff, Jeff is our bass and Lane is our vocal percussionist. We started singing together in high school. We've actually been singing together since middle school, but we started a group in high school where we decided we were going to, our choir director always needed to have a men's ensemble or a men's group of some sort. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he kind of, gave us a little bit of a drive, and we decided to do some barbershop. Mm-hmm. We weren't all that great at barbershop. Very, very distinct voices that, our blend was nice, but it wasn't a barbershop sound. So we started doing a little bit music that was a little more contemporary. Yeah, pop contemporary.
R&B, pop.
The Blenders, rockapella, stuff like that. That's what we really loved at the time. Then once we moved out of high school, we just kept the whole thing going.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of where I met them.
Yeah.
We worked in the same sort of... Well, actually, I did meet them when I was in high school as well. I had my own a cappella group. About an hour outside of Orlando is a tiny town called Leesburg, Florida. Mm-hmm. And that's where I went to high school with my group. But Leesburg, in order to go to choir competitions and places like that, you had to go to Orlando, where these guys were. And so we would see each other at the same sort of places, and it was like, oh, I see your acapella group. Oh yeah, I got one too. Okay, cool. And then we started working together in sort of the professional atmosphere that was, or the community that is Orlando's theme park community. And long story short, that's kind of when I started, joining up with the group in that way.
Jeff in an interview had mentioned performing outside of bagel shops and being paid in pizza and stuff. Was that before you joined the group?
That was a little bit before Ellie joined the group.
I don't know. I've done a couple pizza gigs.
You've definitely done some pizza gigs.
Are you still
I go back
paid
though.
with
I go back. I'm almost OG. I'm not quite OG. I'm almost OG.
Almost OG.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Almost OG.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, could you kind of talk about that theme park world, because that's as we've talked to some people that have come out of the Florida acapella scene, not only is there the acapella scene there unique, but like also that whole climate of there being work and a demand for a certain time of performance. So like, how did that kind of shape what you guys were trying to do?
Yeah, that's awesome. So we are fortunate to have Disney and Universal Studios and SeaWorld and conventions and things like that, where they need entertainment, and a cappella, at least in theory, should be sort of portable and modular and easy to move around. And obviously our show now is not quite like that. I mean, we take it all around the world, doing it in theaters and such, but they are, we require sort of specific things in order to do a show like that. But once upon a time, it was easy as like just 4 microphones in a sort of terrible boombox sort of situation, and they would put you on the corner of Universal Studios.
There you go. Sing.
and I'm not belittling that at all. I'm just saying like things were simpler for us at that point in time, and I think that there's still sort of that vibe going on out there. But they've grown in like. Acapella's grown in popularity, so like the sound system you get to sing on at Universal Studios has grown, a little bit in that way, because people kind of get it now. Like, oh, if we, help in these ways, then more people can listen to it, and it can stop traffic for a while. Anyway,
that's the point right there.
Yeah.
It stops traffic.
Yeah, so we were you're a sideshow in a way, or like the ability to sort of say, hey, look what we can do. Like it belongs on the street, or it belongs as a pre-show, very easily. And I think in Orlando we just get the ability to do work, and to pay some bills by doing the thing that you love. And what we decided to do was to continue doing the thing that we love to do outside of work. And I think that that's kind of the trick of being an entertainer in the theme park world, is that you go and you clock in to that job and you do something that you love. But then when you go home, you can't be like, well, I did my work for the day, I'm done. You have to go, all right, well, now there's rehearsal on this other thing that doesn't pay you, and you can grow that. So if you can do that, then you can grow a business and a career, maybe, I think, and doing what you want to do,
Yeah. You guys have said in interviews that you never intended to become serious professionals. Like, when did it become clear that this was something that, you could be doing as the full-time gig?
I don't know if it's
Oof,
ever. I don't know if it's ever full. Has it happened?
Can it happen? I don't know.
It's right now. It just happened.
You're dumb. Right at this very.
I think you just did it.
Moment.
Yeah, you just did it, Evan.
That's not what he's at.
Oh yeah. So I don't know. Like I think probably there's always the.
Was it before Sing Off, or was it after?
Before
It was
Sing
before
Off.
the Sing Off, yeah.
Yeah, we were touring before that.
Okay.
I think probably like, I don't know, because you kind of do it as a part-time job, right, first, or you kind of do it as like, well, this is extra money, and I don't know. I think you always have to have like a laser focus on what your aspirations are and like really go after them, and in some ways like, acapella group might not have been the first one, like it might. I mean, I think we always wanted to do it like as buddies singing together, but I think that maybe it was like, well, maybe one day we'll be able to do that. We're just going to keep taking the crumbs as they roll in, and working and singing together as much as we can, and making ridiculous shenaniganry on our CDs, or on at the cam that we had at the time, and or for our show. And I think eventually it just kind of was like, oh wow, we've kind of got a lot of gigs going on. And then I feel like we eventually decided that we were going to represent ourselves at a conference. Like they have these like performing arts conferences,
like a NACA type.
Yeah,
thing?
it's sort of
we've
exactly.
done NACA.
That would be one of the first ones. I think when we decided that we were going to take ourselves and save the money up, like from the gigs and like do that. I feel like that some of that happened like I was in the group a little bit, but
I mean, if you want to say APAP, then it's been 10 years. This will be 10 years of APAP.
Well, that's about the first, yeah.
When we decided to actually like.
Yeah, so like these different things, I think probably when we decided to save money to put into like a business, I think is when we decided that it was a business. I can't take all the credit for that. I mean, these guys, had to take a lot of credit for the first step there. But I was sort of doing the same thing in a separate place, and so. We would like exchange notes, compare notes on like on things in that way, and I think it just sort of worked out later in life that the guys were like, okay, how about like let's do this full time if you're down, and I was like, yeah, I'm totally down. You're my best friend.
So you kind of mentioned earlier how being in Orlando, there's so many opportunities, what with Disney and other entertainment sources around there. There's so many opportunities for a cappella. So I'm just curious how that affected you as a group in your style and your sound, because obviously you're kind of working for a particular audience or crafting some music for a particular audience. So I'm curious how that affected you as a group, as VoicePlay.
It's a funny situation, I feel like, because there were a lot of opportunities to work with other performers, but we typically ended up working together on the majority of all these gigs. It was almost as if,
Yeah, that's true.
we became like the group that would get hired to do these things through other entertainment companies.
Yeah, so it wasn't like 4 to 5 or VoicePlay was hired to do it. It was just like Ellie, Earl, Lane and Jeff, like we're showing up at the same, sort of gig a lot. Like, hey man, you're here to work at Universal today, awesome, or City Sounds, or one of these other like groups that were sort of produced, either by Jeremy and Shalisa from Toxic Audio or
Vox Audio.
Sorry, Vox Audio now. Sorry, at the time it was Toxic Audio. Or another entertainment company here in Orlando was kind of doing, and so I think it just sort of helped our relationship and our sound a little bit in that way. Like, so we got to practice together a lot, and then we also got to have like opinions about like, well, I don't really like the way that arrangement goes in that way, and if we
kind of change things.
If we were to do it ourselves, what would we do? Or like let's make a change and then ask them if we can keep it, kind of thing. And then eventually, I think I don't know if this is really answering your question or if I'm talking in a circle, but like stylistically, I think it comes from all the music we all listen to.
Yeah.
But I think that probably, in a way, the being exposed to each other on a regular basis. Like I was saying, at work and then outside of work, it just sort of kind of became this like family,
Yeah.
And for better or for worse.
Totally. It's clear that like within the history of the group as well, that there's always kind of been a focus on, that live performance and the kind of, a theatrical leaning show and stuff. And was that like, and I know certainly since the Sing Off that's happening, but you were doing, like big tours before the Sing Off. I think you've like were on the Disney Cruise Line at one point, and so you're doing that type of stuff. Were there any like adjustments or like what was kind of like the thought process of, crafting a set that would work in that environment and like is interactive in the way that you guys wanted?
That's a great question. That makes me wish Jeff was here because he would have amazing answers for you. That outside of what I'm about to say, but Jeff is we all kind of bring something to the table in that way. But I always look at Jeff as our like
The live show is Jeff's
kind of like
brainchild.
like a show director almost. Like even if I come up with an idea or Lane comes up with an idea, like I'd always want Jeff. I personally always would want Jeff's input on the live show, I think that we all sort of had the experience of crafting a set, so to speak, in a way that builds energy in the right place, and sort of drive, and you kind of have the experience of listening to the crowd and where they're reacting and changing things over time. I mean, some of the bits that are I put in the greatest hits category, like Road Trip would be one, right? We've been doing for a while, and it evolves, like with a new member, which we're grateful to have Jay, who sits in the passenger seat so well there. But like these things happen over time, like by trying something and saying, that didn't work so well, or listening back to tape and being like, I don't really like the way we sound on that song, and or that this part of it's been continuously, wonky, or something doesn't feel right there. Is that a thing that we can fix, or is that a thing that we just need to make go by faster? Like, or is it worth taking the whole song out, or is it, and we've done that. We definitely have killed things before based on our
just audience reaction in the moment.
Yeah, and I think some of it's like I think part of it is that we always wanted to be like family, quirky entertainment. And when I say family, I don't think that we ever mean like specifically like kid driven, because sometimes people get that image like, oh, they're kid driven, and that doesn't we love that. I mean, we love that too. But the idea for us is that there's something for every tier of the family. You know, like mom and dad will love something, grandparents will love something, the kids will love something, and then often like one of our biggest compliments is that, you know, like a mother and a son are both fans of us. You know what I mean? Like that's great, and it doesn't have to be like a young kid. It could be like a teenage kid. You know, and we think that's awesome. You know, young adult, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I think that totally makes sense. So, as I maybe had alluded to earlier, I'm a big sing-off nerd, or will be. I don't know, but like, so, you know, how did being on that show kind of change, if at all, the direction of the group? And because I remember that was my first exposure to y'all, and then you had Honey in the group on the show, and then I was like, and then I followed you guys, and then quickly that wasn't the case anymore. And so, you know, we've talked to some people who've been on the show, and there's always, you know, the concessions, and there's a thing that they want you to kind of fit in. So what was that experience like for y'all?
Well, I mean, okay, originally we were approached by the producers of the Sing-Off to do it, to be a 6-part group, 1 female and 5 guys. Mm-hmm. Well, the reason that was, they saw the video, was it Trouble?
Yeah, I think it was
that
Trouble.
we did with Rachel Potter, and they were like, "Oh, that's great. We'd love to have you guys come on the show." At the same time, Rachel was auditioning for X Factor.
Yeah, because she wanted to change from her Broadway career into a country music career. It was and it's kind of like been a big dream of hers, you know, to do that and to be on. And as soon as those like reality shows were kind of cropping up, I think she had like a dream to be on one, you know, and the X Factor was high on her list in that way.
Yeah. I mean, an interesting story. We actually auditioned for season 1 and season 2 of the Sing-Off.
Wow.
We were called 2 days before they started filming season 1, and they asked us if we could come replace one of the groups that they had out there.
Whoa.
I guess there was a personal issue or something going on.
Or they just weren't going to be on the show or something.
So they called us last moment trying to get us to fly to LA, drop everything we were doing, and we couldn't make it work at the time.
Yeah, that was rough. But then the thing with Rachel was awesome. We were ready to go, and she was like I could tell that she was devastated. Like she was like, I really want to be on the X Factor. I know, you know, like I want to do, but I don't want you guys to not, you know, do this. So what do we do? And so I think Lane and I called Honey, who Honey worked in our circle of friends, you know, in Orlando, and she had been background singing. I think she's still like for Roberta Flack, for Joss Stone, for Macy Gray.
Yeah. Wow.
I lent her my car one time, and I came back to pick my car up from her after she stayed in Orlando from living in New York, and there's Macy Gray cleaning out my front seat in this thing. I was like,
throwing away her Burger King wrapper.
I was like, yo, say goodbye to that trash so you don't choke. You try to say goodbye.
I try to say goodbye.
And I choke, right?
Try to walk away, you drop it.
Anyway, so, you know, Honey had been working legit, you know, in the industry, so I thought it was a long shot that we'd be able to get her to do it, and we just thought we were going to have to pass it up again, and she sure enough came through and said, hey, I'd love to work with you guys on this, and let's go make some music, and now she's back doing all sorts of stuff. She has this cool thing, I love seeing her do it every once in a while, called the Fungineers, and it's like the super colorful, amazing looking thing. It almost looks like it's like kids entertainment, but I think it's straight up for adults.
Okay.
Adult Swim.
Yeah. It's Adult Swim. It's Adult Swim. Yeah. It's super dope.
Yeah. So then I feel like that kind of you know, you already had built up some amount of, you know, following, but I think the show then puts you more in like a national light in a certain way, and then, you know, leads to the tours and everything. Like, did you reevaluate in any way like the goals of the group post the show, or was it just more like a stepping stone to help you achieve what you were already like kind of going towards?
I mean, yes and no. It definitely helped us.
It's a big question.
Helped us, you know, revisit what we were doing and what path we were trying to move along. I think that we looked at the opportunity, like being in front of 10 to 15 million people once a week on television gave us the thought. Like, we came home and we're like, we just worked with a lot of awesome people. Why don't we do some videos with the people we were just on the show with, and try and get those to air or release them on the night that we're
because in the way that we had committed to a YouTube, it was sort of like a marketing strategy almost. The reason why we were doing it was like we needed something that it wasn't because we wanted to be on. We didn't go into YouTube going, we're going to be YouTube famous. It's going to be awesome. I think we always it's the same thing, right? Like maybe one day, like that wasn't a thing. And I don't even know that we're I think we're approaching the numbers where people start to get interested in that kind of way. But we were already kind of going, we want to make some videos in order for people to be able to see us sing and to get more exposure for the group, and then it'll be easier to book the group, and it was a very then thing to start, and so we had already been committed to that. And then when we were on the sing up, just like Earl was saying, it was kind of like, wow, there's some great, really talented people, and we're only going to be able to work with some of them, so let's start figuring out who that's going to be. So to kind of bring it back around to your question, is that going into the sing off, I feel like we had some goals about how we would use that opportunity after the fact, and so going into it, I think that we thought about it. We had the presence of mind, thank goodness, to think about it, and I think I give credit to Lane on that one. He pushed pretty hard on trying to make sure that we got certain people to do that with us.
The two of you.
Yeah, and anyways, so that was kind of one of the things, but we also knew that going into the sing-off that it wasn't going to be the best showcase of what is really entertaining about us. You know what I mean? And so any chance we got to make a theatrical bit out of something rather than merely trying to be super cool and sing a cappella, that's a thing. We try not to take ourselves too seriously, and not that you can't do that. The Pentatonics have shown that they can be a serious pop artist, and not that they take themselves too seriously. I used the two on that, and I didn't mean to, but that you can be a serious act and be a cool a cappella group, and that totally exists in today's world, and I praise them for it and thank them for it. I think for us, we kind of wear super cool with how stupid and ridiculous can we be both at the same time in an effort to tell some sort of story or through line,
yeah. And I think that's interesting that you say that, because I would agree that I think I watched the show and I didn't 100% get it, and then it was the YouTube channel that kind of made me understand what the group was about. And I think there's also interesting dynamic of you're saying that it's not too serious, but I think there's also a real, it seems to me anyway, a commitment to quality throughout everything that you do, whether that's musical or production quality, in the videos or in the live show, making everything really, really tight. And so I'm just interested of how you've kind of kept that up, with the YouTube stuff, because you were saying, some of your recent videos are getting those millions of views stuff way more quickly now. How do you keep that content as consistent and as professional as you guys want it to be?
So we had been putting out YouTube videos for a while before that. Well,
it's just one of the situations, if you watched the sing-off, okay, episode 1, everybody was super serious. Everything was, everybody was kind of uptight.
It's like an introduction.
It's our first introduction to the world, via national television. And I don't think for us it became apparent who we were as a theatrical group until we did the second show.
But you'll notice, and I don't know, I don't have any evidence to suggest that this is true, but I think a lot of the other groups had great what they call the ultimate sing-off or the battle sequence, which was a clever little piece of the puzzle that they put in there, for that season. But in some ways, I'd like to believe that that maybe we had a lot to offer in that way too, because those were little bits of storytelling, you know, about how you're going to one up the other group or what, you know, even musically it had to be, you know, acted out in some sort of like interesting way as to communicate why you're battling, you know. And so I like to think, like, even though we were in the first ultimate sing-off ever on national TV, which technically means that we were in the bottom tier as per the first episode, you know, like
Technically.
like, I like to believe that it might have been because for television value, maybe we had that to offer a little bit.
We definitely had a lot to offer in that arrangement.
Yeah.
That was, we threw every style of music we could.
Well,
Like, if you'd gotten to hear the actual, like, full-length version of what we did, not just the back and forth, it was...
that's right.
It was just everything.
Because you don't know which version of it. Like, you find that out ahead of time, like, just ahead of time. But, like, basically you arrange the whole song. And then whether you're going first or second is...
decided by the producers
literally
5 minutes before you're about to go do it.
Yeah, it's complicated, truthfully.
Did you do another one, or was it that one that you then put out later? Like
we
the full version?
did Survivor with Home Free as us being the zombies and them the hillbillies.
Oh, yeah.
That's
that
the
was...
one that it never aired, but Deke decided to share that.
Yeah, so we like in rehearsal got to do that with Home Free, and it was a really good moment of like you know, like the producers being like, hey, thank you so much for working so hard on this, you know, both groups, you know, and it was just kind of a feel good moment, like hey, look, even though this didn't make it on TV, which in a way is a good thing, but in a way it's like you do all this work and no one's gonna let it see the light of day, you know, like you know, I think it was still kind of a good moment, and I think that's when we decided, hey, you know what, after this is all done, why don't we do this as a collaboration and put it on YouTube, you know,
Right.
and we'll just figure out a way to make it look cool.
Yeah, totally.
Which,
And
by the
then-
way, we were not in the same city for that. That little insider secret.
Yeah, Lane flew. What did he fly?
Minnesota. Yeah, that's when
he
Minnesota.
flew up there in the middle of winter.
Minnesota.
In the middle of the
Whoa.
winter in a barn.
Yeah, so we just made it look like we were in the same place, but if you look closely, we're never actually in the same frame together.
Oh, sneaky.
You got tricks.
Yeah, so then I think that leads nicely to then, you know, in trying to find a venue to fully express who you guys are, and, you know, you've been doing the YouTube videos, and then Sing Off happens. But then the live shows come out of that, the tours that you did. Can you kind of talk about the experience doing those two runs that you did with the Sing Off tour?
Honestly, like I think we all have like different like feeling takeaways of like what the Sing Off tour was, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great opportunity. I think there were moments, you know, like being on tour that long of a tour. I mean, that was an intense. Those were intense, and you know, but getting to work with Imani on the first tour, and you know, getting to like get to know the Home Free guys even better than we already knew them, you know, and
Right.
The Philharmonic guys, Street Corner Symphony, you know, like all those guys are just class act, like amazing people, you know, and they all have their different, you know, things about them. And I think for us, it was a cool place. We always got to be sort of the, I don't know,
we got
like
to pretty much be exactly who we were. Like there was no sugarcoating, and we got to be VoicePlay.
yeah, we got to be VoicePlay rather. We got to do like Road Trip, and we got, you know, like some of these theatrical bits, and we got to showcase that a little bit more. And it was so fresh that we had just been on TV, and we were the only group to kind of do that both tours. You know, so it was just a really big opportunity and an honor that that Deke and the producers and the people at Sony thought enough of us to, you know, to put us in that position, you know, 2 times in a row to kind of like, in a way, again, Home Free, rock stars, you know what I mean? Like Street Corner Symphony, rock stars. They can anchor a show, and I get that. But for us, we were kind of like the big picture of the show's anchor in a way that it was a storytelling piece from beginning to end then. I don't know. I don't mean to get lost in the details there, but like, you know, there's like this opener that has a lot of energy, and then here's this theatrical thing in the middle that's sort of
It's not just your typical stand and sing.
yeah, and then your closer, your rock star, the people that won the show, you know, like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know, I think we always hoped that we would be able to close the second tour, but then after we had a lot of conversation about what the show was going to look like, and Deke and the other producers looking at us as like people to help produce the show, not just the people in the show. They really looked at us as like, hey, you guys know how to do a show. Help us do this right, you know?
Yeah.
And Deke, to his credit, he like fought for everything that we wanted. You know, when we wanted to bring TVs and they said no, and Jeff said, hey, we're just gonna ship these, and I was like, yes, let's ship them.
We shipped two
So we shipped
55-inch
two 55-inch TVs to the rehearsal
on mobile trusses and just did
it. They're here already, you know.
And they'll only take up this little bit of space in the back of the trailer.
But we got to show them what it was that we wanted to do, and the only way to be able to showcase that was to do it for them the day before the whole tour opened. You know what I mean? And it was a little nerve-wracking, but you know what?
We only lost one TV.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it worked out really well. They loved it, so it was like green light, go for it.
Yeah, I think that those were positive experiences.
Yeah. Since the tour was so long, I'd imagine you have more memories like that one, for example, that like big moments like that. Are there any like crazy stories from the tour or anything that like
well, you're gonna have to
really
wait.
stands out?
Wait for the
wait for my tell-all book. Yeah. I'm working on a novel. I don't know if you.
Tell all, huh?
Yeah.
Tell all.
You know
what? I think that the first time, I can't remember what city we were in. I'm honestly okay. So the Ryman, both times were like super awesome shows, and I think it's because like that place is so historical, and there's so much history. There's so much country, rock and roll, and just sort of independent artists that kind of rise to the next level. You know, that get to perform there, and I think it just feels so like hallowed in the certain way. You know, to be able to perform there. And we got like for our set, like, you know, both times we got standing ovations, you know, in Nashville, you know, as like some like, you know, pop a cappella theater nerds, you know what I mean? Performing in Nashville with standing ovations. I think that was like a moment of like, all right, you're allowed to pat yourself on the back a little bit.
there's always the Hey Tim story.
Yeah.
Hi, that was in the Ryman.
That was in the Ryman the first time around.
Oh, that's right. Hi, Tim.
We had so Tim was essentially the MC for the show. So
Tim Faust.
Tim Faust from Home Free. So he would do segues in between any kind of bits or anything that was going on. And at one point during the night, this lady gets up from. She's seated house center about 3/4 of the way back, and she just gets up and starts screaming, "Hey Tim! Hey Tim!" while he's doing his intro. "Hey Tim!" And he just keeps ignoring her, and eventually she holds her hand up, goes, "Okay, I'll talk to you later." That was... "Oh, okay, I'll talk to you later." After her saying it like 7 or 8 times, and Tim, to his credit, oh my, he was working so hard to hold it together, but like would turn back towards us because we're all slightly behind him and just give us like the weirdest looks with his eyes.
He can make
cross-eyed
so
thing.
well, like. He does it on purpose so well, and he'll do it right at you, like cross eyes.
Hey, Tim.
Just been fighting with
so
everything inside of him not to crack up.
To his credit, he's like one of the most. I think it's a bass thing because Jeff's kind of like that too.
It is
the most.
I can get Jeff to crack, but
controlled sort of personality. He's got a wit. He's ready for the. Don't mess with the bass at an acapella group.
Hey, Tim.
Acapella concert. They may get you if you're a heckler.
They get you.
it was a thing.
Well, I mean, they have like from like 100 hertz below, like that's all of them, so they can just like take up the space whenever.
Yeah.
But so that tour ends in 2015. I think that was that. And then so if you fast forward to a few years later, you then opened up auditions last year to replace Tony, who is leaving the group. Is that true?
Okay, yeah, we opened up auditions for the group to replace Tony.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then so I was just wondering if you could kind of, you'd gone through cast member changes before, but like what was that specific experience like? And then for Jay Nunn, like what it was like to be coming on board.
Yeah. So you could start.
I think that
Auditions.
Well, the thing with what we had done so many years in the past, like it's a hard thing because we've always had a slight theatrical like element to what we do, and Tony was able to help us nourish that a little bit, like nurture that.
Nurture, yeah.
Yeah. So
he had such a like he was like the dance captain for the sing off
for both tours, yeah.
For both tours, you know,
Okay.
like so he was the guy who like, you know, so it's like we had a lot of things to give, and you know, funny enough, like Jay's got a lot of dance skills too. You know, he is able to do choreography and things like that, and but it wasn't a one for one like replacement. You're not replacing Tony. It was
Right.
just like what's the next you know, what's the next version of what this group is going to be? You know, what's the
Right, to
new...
replace a spot, kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we went through the process of, you know, making it an open audition, because you never know whether the replacement is another baritone, whether it's, you know, have Ellie drop down to baritone and I sing tenor half the time, or what it was.
Is it
gonna
like
be.
tenor 2, or what? Is it a baritone? Is it a girl? You know, like what we weren't sure. You know what the right, you know, thing was going to be, and you know, so in some ways it took us a while to do, right? Like it wasn't a thing that we just like did super quickly. We, you know, looked around. We had a lot of amazing submissions from all over the world, and then there were some people who, you know,
stood
like
out a little bit.
they stood out like
Yeah.
as like good, you know, good singers or something, but they didn't quite have the like ability to you know, to be where we needed them to be, or like whatever. Like there's just like the variety of all the things you can get when you do an open call audition, you know. But then like I kind of did this gig with Jay where I was sitting in with some friends of ours, an a cappella group, on a cruise ship, and he was also sitting in. So it was like 2 of the 5 people were substitutes. You know what I mean? And
No, it's 3. Was it 3?
it might have been. Well, no, because they had done the work before, but it was you and I were new.
Sam was new.
But
It
Sam
was new
still
too.
oh,
So
so there you
3
go.
of us
Yeah,
were
it's
brand
unreal.
new,
Yeah.
meeting each other.
Our buddies.
Yeah. So we learned. So we get there. I was like, all right, I'll help you out. You know, like you know, and it was a lot of fun. And I think like that's where Jay and I got to know each other, and kind of I think it was months, like a couple months later, I was like, hey man, I think that, you know, you are a cool dude, but I think you can be really stupid sometimes, like in a fun way. And we're
Kind of a goofball,
and you sing really well too. So why don't you come and audition for us? You know, for VoicePlay. And so we decided to do like, you know, hey, let's shoot a video with him after he auditioned, and then let's put him through his paces. We'll put him in a show or 2. You know, like see how it is. You know, and
they
know,
put you
slowly
through a
but
whole
sure.
Christmas season.
Yeah.
Right after that, yeah.
And we did that with a couple other people too, like you know, as well. It wasn't just Jay. You know, he had some competition too, but you know, it wasn't just that Jay was in town. I mean, that was a plus. It was because he was the right guy, you know, for the job.
So Jay, what was it kind of like for you? Because I know that obviously that was probably a long process from the VoicePlay standpoint, but from your perspective, like where were you kind of in your own life and your own like career path, and like what was the switch like for you?
When I first like went to audition for the group and like get involved, I was working at Disney full time in the Lion King show, and I was doing another a cappella show there called American Music Machine at the time, and just outside of that, I was just working on my own music and some other side projects and stuff, just songwriting and stuff. But I really didn't have any intention of being in an a cappella group, so
Nobody does.
it was just so random. Like I kind of like just fell into the under the a cappella umbrella like really quickly. And like Ellie said earlier, we met singing for that other group on the cruise ship, and we hit it off, and he hit me up like later, months and months later, and I was like, you know, Ellie's cool people, so I was like, I'm gonna come through and audition for them, because you know, as a singer and a actor, all that stuff, you always want to just pop up at stuff and just be open. You never want to like just shut yourself off to like just one thing.
Yeah, because it's typically when you think you're completely wrong for something that you end up getting cast for. You're like, no, that'll never
happen. And they're
was
like,
it?
we want to see you again. It's like, really?
But what was the thing? Like, because you came to the audition, we rented a place, like a rehearsal space, you know, you know, kind of like mirrors on the wall kind of place. And Jay walks up,
Yeah.
and he's got this like panicked look in his face, and I'm like, yo, what's up, man? Like, what's wrong? And he's like, I don't know how to tell you. I went to drink some honey, you know, for my voice, and I inhaled it, and I almost died. I was on the ground. I was like, this is terrible. What are you talking about? He's like, no. He's like, I'm serious. I had it. I was on the ground, man. I was like, can you? I stopped for a second. I was like, can you sing?
I don't care if you can breathe. Can you sing?
Like Marge Simpson in Krusty the Clown. But I woke up my roommate that morning, like, because it was early. I got up early. I woke him up choking. Like he jumped off the couch and tried to give me water and everything. He was like, you okay? You okay, bro? You okay? I'm like, I can't say anything. I'm dying. I'm dying. Oh my god.
So needless to say, he nailed the audition.
Yeah, you did well.
And I never took another honey shot in my life.
Every time now.
No shots of honey.
If we see, because when we do you know, shows,
gigs.
a lot of
Anytime
times
we have
they
a
have
venue,
like a tea station for us. You know, we have like, you know, honey and sometimes
sugar.
ginger.
It's always
stuff, like,
fine
you know,
if they do the Pooh Bear. If you do the Pooh Bear, you're fine.
Yeah.
But it's when they give you the little jar, the individual jar of honey.
You want to do
Because
a
then
shot.
you want to drink that.
It said, don't touch the honey.
So we pointed at Jay. Watch out. Watch out for that
No
stuff.
choking hazards today.
No honey.
So besides your stipulations for the writer and no triggering little honey pots, like how is the group dynamic kind of shifted since Jay's coming to the group? And like for Jay, like how's it been being on the road now for like over a year with these guys?
Our while we're chilling, our decibel level has gone louder.
Oh.
Because Jay is a boisterous soul. No, I'm kidding. Like, no, it's been amazing. You know, it's kind of like, you know, when people say like people just fall right in, like, you know, like it's like nothing ever happened. I mean, really, the dynamic is wonderful. You know, we all have our things, you know, but I think we talk to each other really well. We communicate with each other really well. Mm-hmm. And I think that there's a lot of respect in both directions, you know, so I think that it just always works out, man. Like, we have a lot of fun, I think.
Yeah.
There's more...
I like being like... I look at it like I'm like the little brother in the group.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I get to get away with like a bunch of crap.
Yeah, it's true.
Until I get...
That's true.
Until he gets the look.
More...
Until you get the look from older brother. Where it's a real thing.
I probably was like, originally maybe... I don't know, like either I don't know, like more mischievous, right? Like I think that Jay has taken the role of mischievous and owned it. Like that's his role now.
Mischievous.
He is mischievous.
Hey, Siri.
Jay's got Jay's got a really awesome like pre-show ritual. We'll go set everything up for, you know, sound check, and we'll do our sound check. Jay is always off in the green room or in some kind of break room backstage trying to find a TV.
Oh yeah,
Because he always brings his PlayStation 4 with him.
that is nice though.
And it was fine until we got to some of these places where he's playing, and I finally said, Jay, just get yourself a portable projector. So now we go to the airports, and what was it? A few months ago, we had like a 3-hour layover, and Jay had his PlayStation out on the wall of the airport, sitting at the gate. He had 9 kids behind him watching him play Fortnite. So it's a real thing. He keeps himself occupied really well, so it's fun.
Little brother.
You don't have to worry about where Jay is because you can find him because he has a
Look
projector.
for the projection.
Yeah, and then so Jay, what's it been like, you know, just being on the road with these guys, and how's your experience been so far?
It's definitely been interesting. like at first when I started, it was like okay, I want you to learn 30 songs in 2 weeks. Go.
Okay.
And I was like what? And then it was like, okay, out of those 30 songs, we're gonna sing 10 of those. So don't worry about the other 20 that you learn. And then slowly it started getting like...
Hey, challenge met though.
Challenge was
met.
Was met. Thank God it was met.
But it's good because we can rotate that stuff in sometimes.
Yes. But yeah, at first it was a little hectic trying to get all that music down. I have long drives though, so I I used to have like 45 minute to an hour drives every day, so I'll listen to all those songs and learn them in the car, and just try and get them ready for rehearsal and stuff. But it's been a learning experience, just trying to get used to just the different style, and it's only a few of us. It's not like 10 people on stage or 12 people on stage, so it's just been it's been different trying to get used to the whole style. But I like it. I like it a lot, and I'm grateful for the opportunity and these guys letting a sapsucker like myself come join the party and try and get my beak a little wet with the acapella music.
Yeah.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah, and I mean, it clearly the J Nunn era of VoicePlay has like gone well so far, because like I think sometimes for acapella groups but bands too, it's like when there's a new member, sometimes they're like, I don't know about this guy, but it's like
there was definitely a lot of that. There was definitely a lot of that on YouTube. They're like,
well,
I love it when it's polarized.
It's
But it
people
was the other way
just
too, though,
people are
remember?
used to the things they're used to, and they don't expect or want change. But sometimes
that's understandable.
sometimes that change is for the better, and I feel like that's what this was. Definitely, like, you've won over all those fans that were skeptical. So
Yeah, it's okay. People
Right.
miss Tony sometimes. That's
Yeah.
that's acceptable too. Like he's to be missed. You know what I mean? Like in this situation, but I mean it's okay to do that, and it's okay to like Jay Nunn too. You know what I mean?
some people miss
Right.
Fat Earl. Some people miss short hair Jeff. It's just the thing. It's we all like have our
Nobody-
hair again. Get fat again.
Nobody misses short hair Jeff. They all love the hair.
Nobody misses
Gain some weight.
hair on Ellie.
Nobody misses hair on Ellie. Did you had?
Once upon a
Well, I know you had hair.
yesterday. I
but
mean,
Yeah, he had
like I
golden
literally
locks.
was able to grow hair at
before
one
the
point.
sing off, did you have?
That's-
No, I've been doing this for a minute.
Okay.
This has been
I was gonna say if you had hair on the sing off.
this goes back to my bass player in my rock band. Like we sat on a porch in a band house somewhere in like Alabama
Alabama.
and
I'm shaving your head.
shaved my head. Well, he was asking me. I was like, man, I've been thinking about shaving my head. He's like, you should do it. And I was like, what makes you think? He's like, I don't know. You should do it. I shave my head. You shave your head. I was like, well, I brought some clippers just in case. He's like, you brought some clippers. I'm shaving your head today. You don't have a choice.
How long ago was this?
Why did he want this so badly?
Yeah, it's really good.
I think he thought that I really I was like dying to do it.
Uh-huh.
And to his point, he was saying, "You brought the clippers. If you brought the clippers,
you're already
that means you're already committed to
three-quarters of the
doing
way
it."
there.
But you had
Exactly.
like super long hair then, or
Before I had
before?
super long.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because I remember that picture. we
2000,
stumbled-
yeah,
I
around
stumbled
2000
across
you
one
had
of
the
those.
super long, and then you chopped it off a little
that's
bit.
true.
That's
What was it, like
crazy.
2004 maybe? 04, 05?
Choppy,
You
choppy?
decided to...
I can't even mark
Choppy
it
stuff.
for you.
Well, I'm only saying because I had buzzed mine like 2
No, it
years
was
prior
later.
to that.
It was later than that.
Okay. After 5?
Later.
Okay.
I had the shortcut in 2004. You feel me? I had the waves.
I let Lane cut my hair once. That's why I ended up with a shaved head. he bought shit up so bad I went, nope. Okay.
Clean slate, Doc.
Let's start over.
Well, all that is to say that, with Tony, that there was, this shared history that your audience and then, you guys have had, and then now you're just building that up with J-Nun, and that the most recent Aka Top 10 video did super well, the Disney Heroes one, like 3 million views or something on YouTube, which is super cool. And I feel like, you guys were doing it before the sing-off, you're doing it after the sing-off, but now I feel like there's even more, it's like the next level of that kind of content that you're putting out, which really feels like in step with like where the industry is at and everything. So can you kind of talk to just like that keeping the content with that kind of quality you were talking about earlier, and like what the goal is with that particular platform?
Yeah. So, funny enough, YouTube was originally just a like a marketing platform for us, right? It was a way for us to be able to like people had to know who we were, so we would put these videos out in order to be able to show people who are maybe interested in the group. Oh, here's us singing, here's what we sound like, or here's what we're doing now. And it was also super relevant and a place that we wanted to be able to grow. And we saw people, doing it as a living. We were like, well, that's kind of cool. Maybe someday we'll be able to do that too. Let's move in that direction. and one day we'll be at a place where it could actually be, you know, a piece of the revenue or a piece of us, a piece of our business, you know. And you know, but staying consistent is a complicated thing. I mean, there's a lot of moving pieces to doing production because we do it all ourselves for the most part. You know, putting out as you know, I think we have to first identify like who we are as a brand, and then also like the subcategory of who we are on a particular platform. You know, like YouTube is very like, it's like millennial focused, and there's actually more guys than girls on YouTube. You know, like it just happens to be that way. But on Facebook, we have more girls than guys. You know, it just happens to be that way. Not that there's a lot of difference in the content, obviously, but just to say like there are differences in how it's built up and what people will consume. And so sometimes, even though we put things in both places, some of the content is meant a little bit more for one platform over the other, you know. But we kind of consider ourselves a family brand.
Yeah.
And I think when we say that, I think we don't mean just for the kids. You know, it means at every tier of the family. You know, there's something for people going on a date. There's something for whatever. So, you know, for mom and dad, for grandma and granddaughter, you know. And I think that's one of our biggest compliments is when somebody says, hey, my son and I have you in common. We're both fans of you. You know, that's a super huge compliment for us. And so kind of back to the YouTube things, it's like sometimes we're selecting content based on things that we love, of
course.
You know, of course. But also sometimes it's geared towards being able to, you know, touch those facets of our of people that follow us, you know, or that we hope to grow with.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole thing is, you know, it's still a business. The videos are not
just random.
They're not random. They're not. I mean, there's a lot of thought put into them. It's
definitely.
It's trying to draw in, not just retain the fan base that you have, but draw in new fans. So you can't just. You know, I'm trying to say, I guess you can't do the same old thing and expect the same results.
Yeah, I mean, the truth is that you never know which one. You can kind of have a feeling about which ones are going to do really well or not really well, but I think the idea is just you got to put things out. You got to take some risks, and you got to find the things that work so you can kind of go back to the well a little bit, and at the end of the day, I think you just sort of go, you know what? It's okay. That's part of the body of work, and we're going in the right direction, you know?
Yeah. So because y'all are so proficient in making videos, making content, and kind of figuring out where exactly it should live and what sort of message you should be putting on certain platforms, what type of advice would you give a young musician or just young group perhaps for like starting to get their feet wet in like the digital world and how to get their music out there?
Set deadlines no matter what. That'd be like
you've got to set realistic deadlines.
Have partners that you can communicate with, even if you know maybe don't understand. Like if we disagree about something, it doesn't end the group. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It can't end the group. You know, like I know that maybe it speaks to a particular level maybe of but you're saying a young person who's just starting out. So in my head, it's like if you feel like that ends the group, then that probably wasn't meant to be, you know, kind of thing. You know, and maybe setting up sort of guidelines about how business is taken care of, and then how friendship is taken care of. You know, like make sure that you nurture both of those things. You know, if one gets out of hand, you're not being friends to each other, and you're just being business partners. Like sometimes that can be a thing that can serve negatively, especially if you're like not everybody does business with their friends. I think is the way to say it, right? But we just happen to, you know.
Right.
What is there anything that like that you've taken away from like being in it for so long that like has kind of allowed you guys to, you know, still function and like not hate each other?
Like
unless you hate each other.
No, none of us really hate each other. None of us really hate each other. No, there's
it's an equal.
You just have to. Yeah, I hate everybody equally. Yeah. I hate you all. Period. No,
love and hate.
It's just a matter. You have to. You know, you gotta know your role. You have to know what you're good at. You have to know what you're capable of accomplishing. You have to be able to do that in a timely manner for the people around you that you respect.
I think you have to do what you say.
Yeah.
If you say you're gonna do something,
That's hard.
yeah,
It's a hard-
but
that's a
that's a
hard-
big one. Like to me, it's like if I were to say that I'm gonna do something for the group, I'm going to try. I'm going to try exceptionally hard to make sure, come hell or high water, I'm going to be able to get that done. And if for some reason it doesn't come together, it's like like I will make it right. You know what I mean? Like I think that's how we all are a little bit with each other. It's like, the business comes first, the group comes first, and whatever we can do to grow that. And that way the disagreements are about, you agree on what that you want the same thing, and the disagreements are just about how to get there, and that's a healthy conflict. You get more out of that.
Healthy conflict. I kind of like that. Healthy conflict.
Well, there's a lot that comes from that. A lot of new ideas. When you say, I disagree, I think we should do those IG videos a little more stripped down, it has to make me think. He's like, okay, you disagree with me. That's a conflict, but we understand that you just mean it because you're trying to create the best product possible. And you have a say in it because you did an arrangement, you have a dog in that fight, and I think it brings more ideas, to the table.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that.
So we're actually nearing the end of our episode for today.
Oh, come on.
So we have 2 questions that we like to ask our guests, and I'll just ask the first one. And the first one is, what sort of things are exciting you in the a cappella scene? And that can be the vocal music scene too. But things that you're seeing that you like or are inspired by.
Just these younger and younger groups putting things together, already like being able to perform on a level that I feel like it took us 4 or 5 years of singing together doing. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, like the school stuff is awesome. Like to see the show choir, turning into a cappella, curriculum, at high school and middle schools, is pretty amazing, because then they're finding guys with perfect pitch, where we were hurting for guys in the choir, they have guys with perfect pitch, right out the gate.
Yeah, we needed we needed a guy who could sing tenor 1, tenor 2, baritone, and bass all at the same time.
Yeah,
because there were so few guys willing to even be a part of the choir.
Here, you're gonna sing baritone on this part, and you're gonna be in with the altos on that part, and then
It's gonna work out just fine.
Yeah, it was a lot of that when we were in choir. So I think it's exciting, for the community and for music, that's happening. I think you're gonna see some, and are seeing some phenomenal young talent, and not to put like obviously the pentatonics, are doing great things, and I think that when they do well, we do well. That's the cool thing about a cappella and a cappella groups, is that there's competition, fine, but it's not really a competition. It's just like everybody just trying to find their lane.
Sure.
In this world that is a cappella, we're all underdogs, when you're in an a cappella group, and I think that's like an awesome thing. It's a creative, inspirer, to be an underdog.
I'm waiting for the first kids a cappella group.
I mean, it's
Kid Bopapella?
Kid Bopapella. Like,
It's
I think that would be super dope,
Yeah.
like a bunch of 11-year-olds.
Shams and Ben Bram and everybody are putting together one
Yeah, there's
right now, I
a
think.
kid group coming.
I forget what it's called.
Is it a young teenage group, or is it actually like 11 to 12?
It's like 7, 9.
Wow.
Like actually kids.
Like
Wow.
children.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like a Jackson 5 a cappella.
Yeah, I think so. They put out a national
Kid-a-pella.
call, and I think they
Kid-a-pella.
picked the group and everything. So
That would be dope.
that'll be good. Yeah, and then our last question is just what is next for the group that's coming up for you in the short and long term?
The Grammys, you sap sucker!
you're scaring the people, Jeff.
Sorry, my
You're
bad.
scaring
My
the
bad.
people.
I get excited.
Yeah, short term right now.
It's the Grammys,
Let's see here.
Saps.
We have SoJam coming up. What is that? November 3rd. We have.
Okay.
Yeah, this weekend.
We have a list.
Oh, yeah,
of-
that's
yeah,
right.
It is this weekend. We've got a list of holiday dates for a holiday tour. So check out our website, thevoiceplay.com, for that. And
Video.
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 Yeah.
Video.
The near term, I think, is as much production. We have you were saying the holiday tour. Those are the short terms for sure. Long term, there are things that we have in the hopeful works that we can't talk
Can't
too
really
publicly
talk about,
Yeah, but
The Grammys used.
while he's playing, I mean, we'd like to
that's
start
a
working
long-term
on.
goal.
Who said I was playing? Because I'm not using my real voice.
That sounds like he's playing.
Typically a good indication.
We'd like to do some original music. We're
Yes, very much so.
getting into that mode a little bit. It's about making some space for us to be able to work on that. Jay and I always get together every once in a while and we put something down.
Yeah. Bang heads together.
About lunch and stuff.
About lunch.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was fun.
Awesome. Well, I don't know. I feel randomly inspired to do a very short lightning round of 2 questions.
Oh, lightning
So
round.
I'm just gonna throw 2 questions at you real quick.
I love it.
All right, I'm trying not to think about it.
I'm just gonna throw, and you just go down the line. Number 1, favorite VoicePlay song to sing.
Favorite VoicePlay song to sing? Here Comes Santa Claus. Up on the Rooftop medley.
Oh,
Yep.
You stole mine. That was mine.
That's a good one. That's a real good
You stole
one.
mine. That's mine. That is mine.
I'm liking our panic thing, man. I think it's
All
coming
right.
together.
Yeah.
It's coming together.
It's coming together. That's my favorite part.
Yeah, if you're at Sojam.
Oh, that's right.
If you're at Sojam, look for that one.
I'm gonna squeak.
Not
it.
making promises, but it's
It's
most
the hope,
likely
yeah.
most likely that's the goal, is to get that on stage this weekend.
Nice.
What about you? What's your favorite?
That here comes.
Here comes
Santa
Santa.
Claus.
What's the
Yeah.
Here
second
comes
favorite?
Rooftop.
Second favorite. That's kind of hard.
See, I like to perform Road Trip. Is what's a trip. It's not really a song.
I like Beautiful Low. I like.
Oh,
lis-
that's
I like.
true. That's
lis-
a
like
good
listening
I
one.
to
like listening to it more than I like singing it.
I like singing that one though. Actually,
It's a good one to sing.
that's up on my list too.
I really enjoy doing What's This. I like doing it live because it is so much fun to watch you do your darndest not to stumble through those words. It is so wordy that it's just like it's a nightmare.
It's like an Eminem
It's a nightmare
song.
before Christmas.
Yes, it is.
A nightmare. An actual nightmare.
You do well.
And then second question, and I know it was contentious last time, but favorite Halloween candy, just one.
Reese's Pumpkins.
The little pumpkin candy corns, definitely. Those are the ones. Although I love sweet tarts also.
I haven't had a
Different.
sweet tart in a
Yeah,
long time.
Pivot.
very different.
Reese's as well. Or the Reese's Pieces, the same thing.
Actually, you know what? I say sweet tarts. I'm modifying. Anything that's like a sour tart sort of.
Oh, you mean like a 5-pound bag of Sour Patch Kids?
I mean, I didn't know we were gonna bring that up, but
Well, it happens, you know.
but yeah.
A 20-pound bag of Sour Patch.
That's one of those things. I like to buy those random snacks on the road, and Ellie was the beneficiary of a 5-pound bag of Sour Patch Kids one night.
Like, don't give me this.
You didn't eat them all.
I
Just like
many.
most of them.
It's not healthy for you,
It's not healthy.
but it's delicious. It's good for your soul.
Too much sugar and sour.
Well, hopefully you get a few 5-pound bags thrown on stage in a polite way this
Oh my.
this
No,
weekend.
no.
Oh, I'm scared.
Don't do that. Don't
No
do that.
5 pounds. Just the Reese's. Just bring the Reese's.
Okay.
Oh,
We'll
Reese's
bring- we'll
Pieces?
bring the Reese's.
Throw
individual
pieces
we'll
out.
throw individual pieces
Yes.
very at the front of the stage. But thank you guys for joining us again for this episode.
Our
It was a
pleasure.
real joy to talk to you. And we hope that you join us next week for a new episode of Head Voice.
Halloween. This is Halloween. This is Halloween. Pumpkin scream in the dead of night. This is Halloween. Everybody make a scene. Trick or treat till the neighbors.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Head Voice. You are now listening to This is Halloween by VoicePlay. A very happy Halloween to you if you're observing. And in a ghoulish turn of events, it's just me on this outro. So sorry about it. It's been a hectic few weeks. Kayla and I have been trying to finish up our album with our band Berlin Avenue. That's going to be coming out next week, which is super exciting. But it's just going to be me. But anyway, we were super happy to talk to the guys of VoicePlay. Little fun Easter egg for you. We actually recorded this episode in 2 parts, and it's spliced together because of an audio issue. So if you can find where we spliced it together, I'll like send you a piece of candy in the mail or something. So stupid. Anyway, we will be at SoJam this weekend, and so will VoicePlay. They will be headlining and performing and teaching master classes and stuff, and we will be doing 2 classes, one live panel with Anthony, Kayla, and I, and Kayla and I are teaching a live looping class. So please do say hi if you're going to be in the area this weekend and you're listening right now. If you're not going to be in the area and you have a second to rate and review us on iTunes, follow us on Spotify, or just leave feedback on whatever platform you use to listen to the episodes, that would be greatly, greatly appreciated. I'm not going to waste any more of your day. Who wants to hear me talk? Nobody. Happy Halloween. Go get some candy. Get drunk. No, don't do that. Bye.
This is Halloween. This is Halloween. Halloween.